Welcome to The Work of Warriors, a podcast dedicated to bringing mental wellness to the entertainment industry. I'm your host, Kim Ravage. This podcast is dedicated to the artists we've lost to mental health, addiction, and suicide, and to those who are still suffering in silence. Hello and welcome. You know, one of the benefits of social media, I know there's a lot of downsides, but one of the benefits is the artists that we get to hear from on all the platforms. And today's guest came across my TikTok feed probably a year or two ago, and I was instantly magnetized. I was instantly drawn to his energy, his presentation, but more importantly, his message of hope and self-love, manifestation, positive energy, joy. And so I have been following him and connecting with him for quite some time. And so I'm very excited to have singer, songwriter, and producer Abel Heart on the show today. Abel was at one point lost in life after his amateur U.S. Olympic snowboarding career came to an abrupt halt due to an injury. For years, he questioned his life and struggled with depression and addiction until he found a deep connection and purpose with music. Creating music became his therapy and healthy outlet for expressing himself. Abel now hopes that his music can inspire and help others. And as you will hear, he is an absolute joy, and I'm excited to introduce to you Abel Heart.
Hey, what's going on? How you doing?
It's so exciting to meet you.
You too as well.
I have to tell you, you came across my TikTok feed
Oh boy.
over a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, maybe it was COVID. I don't know. I feel like we've all lost a sense of time.
Yeah.
But I think it was the song Love Myself.
Oh, okay.
And so magnetic, so energetic. And I was just immediately drawn to you and your presence, but even more importantly, your lyrics and your message. Whenever I hear an artist and I just trust my gut. I trust how the music makes me feel.
Yeah.
And I just immediately felt hope and positive energy. And I was like, okay, I have to follow this guy. And I just started following you. And you have more energy than I think I would know what to do with. And I love it.
I don't. Yeah.
I love it. And so I've been following you for a while. And so I'm just so excited to finally meet you and to have you on the Work of Warriors. And it means a lot that you've accepted the invitation. I don't know how much you know about the Work of Warriors, but this podcast where we're creating a space for artists to be seen as real people, where they can show up and be heard and seen and not have to perform, not have to produce, to share their stories. And, you know, what I've studied and followed with you is, you present with such beautiful, positive energy and a message of hope. And it's life-changing, but I also know that you have struggled. And so I'm just wondering, if you want to introduce yourself, but maybe even share a bit of your story of how you got here.
Yeah, definitely. Of course. No, I appreciate you filling me in on all that. So my name, if anybody that's listening or watching doesn't know, is Abel Heart.
Can you tell us what the name means?
Yeah,
the
totally.
name come from?
For one, I do want to say I appreciate you having me on. I love being able to connect just with new people in general, but in a setting where we can have like open and honest conversations as well. As I feel as human beings, that's super important, just in general. It also makes me happy to hear that the music resonated with you and that you connected with it on that level. Because, as an artist, as a creative, I guess really in any sense, you could only dream of that. That's what you really want. And as corny as it may sound, you hear the saying of people like, oh, as long as one person, it resonates with one person, or I get, but it really is so, some of the most famous cliches are usually true, but it is, and that's what I wanted with making the music. But to answer your question, the name Abel Heart essentially comes from my mom. She's always said, I'm able to do anything my heart desires. She's definitely my favorite, my biggest cheerleader. I love Mama Duke, so I'm definitely a mama's boy as well. But yeah, life is, it makes me super happy. It really does. I think when you say that it resonated with you because, that's switching this direction like you kind of briefly mentioned in the beginning of our conversation, life was definitely not always like this. And if you go back and deep dive on some of my earlier catalog stuff and some of my earlier releases and music just starting, it was, I mean, it's completely different than it is now. I don't know if you had dived that deep, um, but that was my full picture. That was the full, okay, this is where I'm at currently, and how do I vent and express the way that I feel inside without actually carrying through those acts in real life, right? How do I do that? Because and at the time, because we make great excuses, great excuses to not do the thing that we know we need to do in order to get to where we want to be. It's like it's like along that road, like the journey of that, and really, again, the cliche, it's all about the journey, not the destination. That's another. I couldn't speak any more true to that, but that's another one that's definitely very true. But the music, I think I was definitely in a way better place when I started to make the darker stuff. Unfortunately, what I didn't realize at that time is when I started the project and Abel Heart, able to do anything your heart desires, being the basis of that. I saw the full picture. I was like, these are things that I experienced in my life that I feel, for one, I believe it'll help me being able to vent the way that I feel inside without actually continuously carrying through those acts. But on the flip side, in hopes that even being darker music at the beginning, that someone else can resonate with it, someone that either has experienced those things, has gone through it, even if it's not right. That's the one thing that we always come up with great excuses in moving forward. We have so many people that have gone through similar situations, yet we tend to come up with excuses and reasons why their story is so much different, whether it's way worse than ours or whether it's not even close to as bad as ours
Yeah.
was, or might be. It's like we've come up with these great. So for me, it's like I just want to get this out, and hopefully someone can also connect with it while being super, like, almost meditative for me to write about these things and express them. Now, I never, I always wanted to sing and write and do all that, but I started out producing. I started out, yeah, I mean, I guess the stereotypical bedroom producer. It's just like, how can I do this? And but it was that was, I mean, that's like super skipping the story as well. Um, I
Well, okay,
Yeah,
so when I heard, I think it was the song Love Myself, and then I think there was another one very similar to that, but these positive messages, and of course that's the part that resonated with me, right? There
right,
was a
yeah,
huge part of my life where I didn't love myself,
yeah,
and now I do. So when I heard that, shoom, connected. But also, I mean, I have my own story of darkness, but you have your own story where that started. You had an athletic career prior to music, right?
right, yeah,
You
yeah.
want to
Was
say a
with
little bit about that?
Yeah, totally, yeah. With yeah, snowboarding. So I was very fortunate to be very good at something from a young age. Snowboarding, anything, I guess, extreme sports. Just connected. I just liked it a lot. I did other sports as well, like team sports, but it's not that I didn't like to hand the ball. I just didn't so much. I feel like the rules. I kind of wanted to do what I wanted to do. If I look back now, uh, and so I guess I just kind of flocked and like fell into alignment of extreme sports because kind of like the rebellious thing. I guess I definitely wasn't a conscious choice or decision. My mom brought my cousins and I to do a lesson, like a snowboard lesson. I don't know how old I was, maybe 7, 8, and it was like she paid the instructor, and the instructor just gave my mom the money back and was like, "No, you don't. Like, he doesn't need lessons. Like, he doesn't need to." And so I definitely didn't resonate with me. It was irrelevant. It was like, yeah, this is what it was. So I think it probably showed something in her, like, oh, like he's really talented at something. And I'm sure I'll bring up later my thoughts on talent, uh, but yeah, it just connected and made sense with me. And I was like, I loved it. Like I was obsessed. I was obsessed. Just as fast forward, I am with music, but that's all I wanted to do the rest of my life. And I was very fortunate. My mom took out a second job and she worked at the mountains so that I could get a ski pass. And so she served like fries and stuff at the food court. And yeah, and I started doing that. And then she connected with other people that were there, and they were like, well, if he wants to take this more serious and you want him to like really kind of like turn this could be a career thing into a career, he needs to compete. So I started, getting in that field, starting to compete. And then my mom being, she's very similar to me. I'm very similar to her, where, we like to talk to people and have conversations. And so she started talking to more people at these competitions on the East Coast. I went to this mountain called Blue Mountain. It's just like the Poconos. And she started talking to people and they were like, well, if he really wants to take this to the next level, he has to travel, and these competitions where they're just on the East Coast, they're all the time, all over, all over the world. So it kind of fell into that, which then brings in like having to involve with like sponsors to be able to fund certain things. And so it just made sense. And obviously with that career choice, I guess anything extreme, but definitely in literally extreme sports, it comes with the territory, to break things. I always say I give you a shorter list to tell you the bones that I haven't broken in comparison, but it comes with it. And I feel like it's like territorial rights, like, you broke like this collarbone, whatever it is.
Which is precisely why I've never tried my hand in extreme sports.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't do anything anymore now because I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't want to get hurt and not be able to put my hand on a mouse to produce, or something.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so I started doing that, and long story short, I did that. I don't know how many years I did that. I want to say if I was like 6 or 7 around that when I started, I stopped. I got seriously injured when it was my worst injury, I guess, because I was seriously injured before. I've like bit off half of my tongue and had it like hanging off, and I've had a ton of like just weird ones. But I, yeah, I fractured my lower back, and that put me out. I was around like 16, just about maybe a little bit before, and yeah, that was one that was like, well, it happens, and it was so external from me. I was like, this, I don't want this to happen. Snowboarding was all I was going to do the rest of my life. Like, it wasn't like I was never like, oh, like I need to do this and I need to make money and I want to, that was not. I was like, I love what I do, and I just want to do this forever. I could just live on a little cabin in the mountains and just snowboard every single day, all day, whatever. This is all I want to do. And then it's kind of like ripped from you, right? What you feel, especially being so young, you feel is your purpose and your passion and everything while you're here on this planet. Even not having that full spectrum picture at that point in time, right? But
Sure.
in actuality, not having that perspective, it's your life. That's everything. That's all you do. I only went to school for like maybe a semester in high school, and then we'd travel. We had like someone that would like go over
Mhm.
schoolwork and stuff with the team, but and then I got thrown back into like normal schooling, right? So that had happened, and I started to get better. I mean, I don't think in reality I could have broke my back and uh, been back at it. Like that's just kind of the name of the game. That's not like my story is no really like not nothing special in that sense, but uh, I think it was that mixed with finances and my parents and just a ton of things. And after that period of time being away and trying, getting better and healing, uh, I just I think I was so far. The progression of the sport had jumped like leaps from even that year prior to when I stopped, or got
Mhm.
injured, and then in comparison to finances and other things, and then I kind of got wrapped into the normal schooling system, and again, because I had something that I felt like was my purpose and my passion taken away from me, third party, it wasn't my choice, not my decision. Uh, I got the case of what I say is like the F it's. I was just like, F this. And if I can't do this, and I'm, I was younger, I was like, if I can't do this, I don't want to do anything. Like, that's it. Like, period. If I can't do this, what's the point of any of it? Like, if I can't do what I love and this, why would I even want to be here? Very pessimistic, small-minded thinking. My mom, for sure, throughout the whole thing was just like, you could do anything, So I've been very, very fortunate to have super supportive parents with that mentality. But again, none of that matters because I'll have like parlay this discussion for a quick second and say that like so many things and I put out now, like I want it to resonate. Like unfortunately, you can't shove something like not that I'm trying to shove this in someone's face, but I want it to resonate with as many people as possible. And I do see so many people going through so many different things in life, and they don't have to totally understand or resonate with my story. Like, but I genuinely want them to feel better than they currently are. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And I want that for me every day, even when I'm feeling good. I'm like, what's the next thing I could, because this journey of life that we're on, for one, that's where it's at, right? This,
Mhm.
it's the journey, the conversation that we're having,
Right.
the experiences that we meet, the people that we meet, it's all of these things. It truly is that, as cliche as that is. Uh, but as humans, to continue that growth, we have to feel like we're growing. Like, what's
Yeah.
new? What are new experiences that we could have? Where do I feel like I'm growing? Right? If
Yeah.
not, it's like plateauing, I guess, essentially, right? It's like, and that doesn't feel good, like to be flatline, right? So,
Well,
of
can I just interject for a second because it's
course,
really profound. I'm having kind of my own aha moment right now because you're talking about like, well, I don't want to shove this down anybody's throat, but I want it to resonate with people. And I used to be a therapist and now I'm a mental wellness coach and I just have a different niche and I do a different thing.
yeah,
But that was it exactly. I kind of plateaued. I felt like I was trying to pull people uphill with me. And it's like I still want to bring hope, but I
yeah,
can't, you just have to be available and you have to put it out there. And so that really is one of the main reasons for the podcast is to be able to hear other stories so people don't feel alone. Somebody will hear your story and go, "Oh, I thought it was just me."
yeah.
Right? And so just to have like all I feel like it's like kind of like a full circle moment. So I'm
No,
just glad that you said that.
no, and I appreciate you voicing that as well. And totally right, it'll resonate. Our story, we could have like, so we could. And the funny thing is, like, imagine just no one will ever have the same exact story, right? We just know it's just like a
Right?
fingerprint, right? But we could, and someone could just resonate with you and not resonate with me. And that's why I think so as many voices as possible as there is talking about any of these things where it's helped or benefit someone's life is of benefit to this world. It's just
Yeah.
that simple, right?
I love it.
But bringing that back to the story, it's like I know that more so than ever. You can't shove it down someone's throat. You can't put it in someone's face. They're going to see it when they see it. Now, taking it back, I know that because that was me. I had so many people tell me everything that I was doing was completely incorrect. I could tell you, and I did many times. I was like, okay, I know you're right. Like, I think that was the one thing, like, moving forward, uh, just in life is like, uh, I totally, I want someone to be at least open and honest with where they're at, Like, if I know for me when I was going, and why I can resonate with it, because I didn't care. It didn't matter. I was going through my own thing, and nothing anyone else could say, as valid as it was and as real as it was, it was irrelevant to the way that I was feeling, and it wasn't going to change the choices or decisions I was making. It was really that simple, right? And that's just how it was, and it was like that. So I went to high school for, I think it was like the last 2 years, because I've been traveling prior to that. And yeah, like I said, I got the case of the efforts, and I just people, places, and things. I just because I'm big on frequency, energy, universe, manifestation, law of attraction. It's a real thing, and I swear we live in a video game. But I was putting that energy out there, so I was receiving it back. Mind you, I wasn't conscious of it at the time. I was super subconscious, and for good reason, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't discount the fact that, like, something happened, but I allowed an external, factor, and something that I had no control over control me,
Yeah.
right? And so I started putting that out and hanging around and associating with other people that were also on that frequency. Now, mind you, that's not a negative sense to anybody else, right? Everyone's going through their own thing, but what do I say? Birds of whatever flock
Birds
together is another one.
birds of a feather flock
Feathers flock
together
together,
or something like that.
and it makes total sense. And that's what I wanted, though, like the self-deprivate. Like, I really wanted to feel the hurt, like I just wanted to feel that because I felt so hurt. Um, and that may not be the most extreme of, like, that example and what I had gone through my life and the injuries, and, like, it may not really be that extreme in comparison to other people's stories. Like, it really, I don't I don't think it is, but I'll tell you, that also held me back for so many years. I was like, well, mine's not that bad. Or I
Yeah.
would see someone where, like, my situation was way worse, uh, and that also held me back.
Yeah, I
It was
think
just,
comparison in both directions is dangerous, you know? I
it's,
really do. If you compare thinking someone has it better or easier than you, or if you compare yourself and, well, I'm not that bad, none of it's helpful.
yeah, I totally, totally agree with you. Um, yeah, so I definitely went down that road for I mean, a long time, honestly. Where can I put myself in the worst case scenario? And I think a lot of it was subconscious, also, as well as kind of like you fall into like the rebelliousness of it, I guess. And yeah, just a lot of issues with, for sure, authority. And yeah, in all honesty, like looking back, I was just lost. I didn't know I didn't know what I wanted to do. I really didn't want to do anything but what I was doing, which I couldn't do anymore. And so if I couldn't, then why would I want to do anything else? And it was really just that simple. Now, mind you, through this process, I grew up, my father is a musician. My dad's in music. I grew up as a baby, like my mom would take me in and out of the clubs, so that was, that was my life. But you would think even before snowboarding that I'd want to get into music. I just didn't. It wasn't like, honestly, what it really was just insecurities. Like, no way. Which, if you look at the spectrum of like Abel Heart, the project, like it's really not. It's nowhere near the how long I've actually been doing music. Uh, and that started because I just wanted to face my fears, and I was at such a low place in my life. So I'll jump back though, after school for a while, then it just ended up a lot of whatever. Like different facilities and in and out of jail, just doing like a lot of stupid things, just not just thinking I could change the way that I did it last time and do it different this time, right? Just a definition of insanity. And I did that for so long, I did it for so long where like that just became my answer for everything. Like, I'm just going to do it different than I did it last time, right? But it's just a circle that I kept.
What were you doing?
Just guilty by association of associating with certain individuals that were like whatever, caught up with certain drugs and not making the best choices, definitely in society. Like I sit here definitely as someone completely different. Still days that are up and down, but there's like daily reprieves, what I say, of things that I have to do consistently because I can see, I don't want to say I can see, but I know that there is a part of me from the past that likes to do certain things, right? But I know that's not me anymore. And I'm very fortunate where, because of a lot of work that I've done, like self-work, it really doesn't shine itself, like you'd have to really, for me to ever show that, there'd have to be something pretty profound in my life or dealing with someone that I love that would have to, that'd become a reality.
Can we normalize not give permission to, let our shadows come forward, but can we normalize that we all have, I think, thoughts and behaviors that are somewhat of a default, that are more in the moment of darkness, they're comfortable. So whether that's addiction, whether it's, spending, whatever it is,
Yeah.
food, shopping, whatever, drugs, alcohol, it's human nature to want to turn off the pain. That is not a character flaw. That is human design. But what you're, I think, talking about, and what we talk about and what we share, is you rise above that, right? You find your essence, you find your calling, your gifts, and you fuel those. And I think it has to come with a decision to love yourself and to believe in yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't resonate with what you're saying like anymore, honestly, because the issue, you have these conversations, and they're very, very touchy conversations, but I try and speak for me, myself, and I statements as much as possible, and just explain my story. Again, everyone has a
Yeah.
different, has a different story along this journey for sure, and I would never try and say, like I know exactly what experience you had there, because I wouldn't, like I could have went through the same exact thing, but I would it's just like
It's still
a
going to be different.
fingerprint again. Yeah, it's just going to be totally different, right? So I would never try and come off as if I did. Uh, but it's the same thing, whether it's drugs, shopping, gambling, sex, whatever it may be for that specific individual. That, like, I feel like this is what held me back for so long. Like, that's the issue. You have a drug problem. You have maybe a shopping problem. You have that is not that's not the problem. Honestly, if it wasn't, and I'm not promoting it. That I would have been long gone if that wasn't the issue. It's a temporary solution to a permanent problem, which a permanent problem is a spiritual malady. A spiritual malady is the lack, the void that you feel feel on the inside that you fulfill externally, but that is only temporary and is not fulfilling. It does not last long. It doesn't take you anywhere, and it's just a full round circle just to keep you in the same place that you are, right? So that took me forever, because it was so. And you bring this up and it's like, well, you saying that that's not a problem? It's definitely an issue. Like, it's not something that's benefiting you for sure, but the problem is deep seated internally. And then you start to realize these things. You're like, well, how the freak do I fill this internal thing if I can't like grab anything physically externally? How can I fulfill this internal void that I feel inside internally? Because that's the only way to do it. And it's like the journey of it. And I guess it all depends, right, where the person's at and what they're going through and whatever but I do believe, and this is what brings back to what I was first saying, law of attract, what you focus on most, you attract. It is so if I know I'm hanging out with the same people, places, and things, mind you, I understand everyone's in a different place, but I knew if I was going to continuously, because the thing is, like a lot of that time of doing that, and I feel like most of us do, we know we shouldn't be. Like, that's the thing. We know we shouldn't be. And that was definitely my experience. And, up until it was just like, I don't know what number rock bottom. It was just like, just rock bottom and it's the worst. And you keep digging 6 feet. Now it's 12 feet. It's like, right. And until I always wanted to go home. Like, I always wanted to go back to the same people, places, and things, right? But that, like I voiced earlier, just different. I see what I did there. Like, that's okay. So if I did like that, sort of like that, but not that because that happened, if I did it different this time, like this, like that's, I start thinking, right? Right? They say you can't be too dumb to get it, but you can be too damn smart, just overthinking, outthinking, like it's crazy, right? And so that's what I had done for years and years until I hit the point where, like, I don't know what it was, like, but something internal, I was like, I just don't want to go home. Like, I want to do something different. And that was my issue for so long because we had to feel that, right? We could have these external factors, everyone in our vicinity, even the people that you really know you have an issue, and like all the people that are like effed up more than you that you're associating with are telling you that you have like a real problem or an issue, right? And it's just like, what, talk about the yeah, that's wild. So
Yeah.
it just came to that point where it was the first time in my life where I was just at such a rock. I was like, I don't want to go home. I want to do all I know. Like, I'll do anything. All I know is I'm willing to do whatever it is that I have to do in order not to feel the way I always feel. And it was that simple. And if I had to take direction from anyone, like I did this, it was rock bottom so many times. I was like, I don't know anything. Like, and that's such a scary, like it's such a scary and freeing place to be. But it is definitely scary because it's like, I can't trust anything that I do, like I'd be in at that place, but like, I was like, should I drink this coffee or is it like an issue? Like, I don't even know. And that sounds so silly, right? But I was like completely at the vulnerable place of like, I just reference coffee because it's something that like doesn't really make sense, right? It's like, well, should I have this piece of candy or is this like my internal thing? It's like,
Right.
But I needed to get to that place because I was willing to do whatever. Like, I apparently didn't know anything. I didn't know what life was, and and again, it's a totally scary but freeing thing because it's like once you're actually open to that and you're in a place where you could start receiving advice from people that have either been through similar situations to you or have experienced whatever it is, that because there are so many amazing people out there that genuinely want to help, or that's just what they do. That's like what they do. And we live in the best time and age. Like, we have like the internet and social media, and you'd be like, well, social media, how are you even going to answer the question with that? Because there's so much negative stuff. Well, I mean, for sure, but just as much as there's negative stuff, there's positive stuff. I mean, you could compare any two people's feeds, it'd be completely different. It'd be like, well, the algorithm's good. The algorithm gives you what you focus most on. If anything, like, that should be the most proof of law of attraction in this world.
Right.
Like, well, it's an algorithm, it's a computer, it has nothing to do. You can't compare that to law of attraction. It's literally the same thing. Like, just saying it out loud now, right? It's like,
Right.
well, that's an algorithm. Okay, well, the algorithm is smart enough to know. So if you
Right.
take that simple concept That's very, because you start talking about the universe. I feel like sometimes it's awesome now because again, with social media, so many people actually really are on this wave, and
Yeah.
it's amazing. It's amazing to see, like, oh, what you put out there, do you attract? Oh my gosh, like maybe it is a video game, which I feel like
I
it
was just laughing because as I work on my algorithms, if I hit search, I see a bunch of golden doodles.
is. Right? You're
What
like, I'm not
dogs?
going to get one more dog.
Like
And you
I
used to
right.
see it in my research. I was just like them, but it starts
I
like, oh,
just
maybe I should,
and
maybe
notice
I
how
should.
much time I spend looking at these cute puppies, and I do. I think it's it's the same.
Yeah.
It's the same. It may not be the same source, but it's definitely the same.
I
Yeah,
mean, yeah. I mean,
for sure.
I totally agree with you. Yeah, but it is. It's super, it's exactly the same. Like
Yeah. And when you
that's
talk
all it,
about energy, I wanted to share this with you because I do think, I'm resonating with what you're saying, but as a therapist in the traditional medical model of therapy, what do we focus on? Illness, right?
mm,
And we've been conditioned to think people have mental health issues, people don't. And I'm not saying that people don't, but we also have a lot of power within us to be
mm,
well. And so that is literally why I had to leave that system and create a system that now focuses on mental wellness,
that's
because
good. I love that.
there is so much within us that
I
we
used to have,
have
yeah, I agree.
control over to
Yeah.
be well. But we're not being told this. And
Well,
if you're
because we
not
also fall
awake,
into the belief that we
yeah.
have an issue and it's uncurable and this is something that we'll have to live with. So we
Yeah,
have
like
no
when you were
choice.
saying, you have a spending problem, you have a this problem, like, you have depression, you have anxiety, and it's like, well, you have a nervous system
Mm.
that is dysregulated
Such a
because when
touchy
you're
subject, isn't it? Such a touch. And I think it's until,
let's talk about it.
yeah, I mean, it is such, but I totally agree with you. I mean, I could, like, the amount of like mental distress that, for one, that I was told that I had. Let's make it super. Let's start with a little less touchy subject, right?
Sure.
Uh, Dyslexia, you know, or even ADHD, a little bit more touchy. But I mean, this is totally fine. Again, like I said, I try and speak for me, myself, and I statements. People could say, "Is as crazy as it is? This is my life experience, right?" It's
Sure.
pretty
Yeah.
much that's plain and simple, and all that I hope.
And another, reality is you get to have your own experience.
Yeah, of course, and
Being
all that I hope,
bilingual. Yeah.
right, and all that I hope is to anything that I say to resonate and potentially better someone's life, or someone could, yeah, benefit anything from what I say, in their experience. So, but yeah, let's take this dyslexia, right? I never read a. I have so many books now; it's hilarious, but I never read anything because I was told that I'm dyslexic and the way that I see things and they're backwards and whatever they. I don't even, my so jumbled up from what I've been told, or that about ADHD. Obviously, like you talk about energy or see any of the stuff that I put out there, I'm like this. I try and be, I don't want to say I try and be, I try and come to like interviews and stuff, like starting off a chill basis, or everyone just thinks I'm on freaking drugs, Oh, you
Mm,
can't, because I can't be like this normal, because I can't, no, I can't, it's not attainable. There must be something else behind it. Like
mm,
it's unfortunate, but societally, like that's just what it looks like. If you're like slightly any different than what's like the societally norm, there's something behind that, it is what it is. Like it really doesn't bother me. What bothers me is that it could negatively disbenefit someone from hearing that and being like, oh, it's not attainable. Like I'm on this road to like really doing this thing, and
mm.
just like fool whatever it may be, whether it's sobriety or whether it's um, anything. I speak more on life. I really don't, again, because once I realized that like those certain things weren't the issue, right? I'm not saying like to go pick some, like for anyone to go do those things, right? In real life is like, I would never condone that. Again, I can only validate from my own experience that if it also wasn't for those things, I wouldn't have been able to deal, you know? And I did have a ridiculous amount of depression and anxiety, and had a complete void in my life, and took it out on myself, and in return others, the people that you love most. And it was just like a vicious repeated cycle that it's like, that's not I'm not the only one with that story, but when I stopped believing, just like dyslexia, and I was like, well, I can't read. Like in school, they want me to read, but look, Mrs. or Mr. whoever, I can't. Like the way like dyslexia works. See, is it's like, but so okay, great. So because you're gonna have someone tell you that you can't, you won't, right? Which essentially is going to hold you back from a life beyond your wildest dreams or anything that you could and it's like you think of, again, we started on this subject because it's not as touchy, but until I stopped buying into that belief that I had dyslexia, or a little more touchy, I had ADHD or ADD, and I started reading, I started focusing for ADHD, ADD on things that I could actually positively focus my energy on, because my energy's all over the place, right? But that's because it's all over the place in fields that it shouldn't be. It's very simple. I don't want to be doing this, so I'm just like, oh, and I act like this, and it makes total sense, right? It's not like properly focused. It's very straightforward. Like, it should just be common sense, right? But we fall into this trap. I did. Whatever advice from other people that you think are, give you, or like should be in the position to give good advice, and then it's just really self-limiting beliefs. So then I bought into that until, again, I didn't, and I started reading. And it wasn't to be like, oh my gosh, I picked up a book and it like all made sense. No, like I had to surpass, and it took time to get away from that past programming, right? Because it's all programming. People, places, things, experiences we had. And for sure, I have tons of traumatic experiences in my own life. And I did for years let it hold me back. And I understand every situation is different. And you talk about certain traumatic experiences. And I totally understand. Again, like we could have the same experience, but you're going to have a different reaction to it than I am. Right.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I know is I don't, and it took a while. I do not want to have an external thing that I didn't even have control over. Yes, this thing happened in my life, and it sucks, like it hurts, right? And to allow that to like be aware of that, right? Like I'm not just like throwing it under the rug and like carrying on my business. Like, this is a real thing that has happened in my life, and it's, if I'm being also honest with myself, it's also held me back
Mhm.
from moving forward. So
Yeah.
until I can let go, can I ever continue to move forward in my life? And that's a hard thing. Just like we talked about a little bit ago, it's like it's like a scary, but also such a freeing thing. It's like,
Yeah.
well, how do you do that? And again, it's a journey, and it's who do I start talking to? What are things that I start focusing on? Who else has had similar? Stop trying to stray away from differences, to be like, who's gone through this. Again, we live in the best time and day. Like
Yeah.
the internet, social media, or things that we subscribe into, that we like, it's not all BS, like it's really, really not. If you choose to believe that, again, self-limiting beliefs, then of course it is.
My current mantra is I have gratitude for everything that is going well in my life,
Mm,
my community, and the world, and I have resiliency and resources for everything that's not.
I love it. I love that. I've never heard it at all like that. So I that's seriously amazing. And I do, and I talk about these things a lot. For one, like, I truly can't help myself. I think, and in parallel, I also think it's like, again, everyone could have their own opinion, but I think it's a bit of a disservice if there's something in your life and you have this awareness, and you had gone through something or things in your life, and then you have a platform where you could speak. I do think it's a disservice not to voice these certain things. Um, and again, well, my only intention is like, I just hope whatever it is resonates with someone. And again, that goes back to music, right? So uh, after snowboarding, I was back and forth through whatever, just like life. I don't like to get into specifics. I mean, I usually could, and I have before in the past, but whatever. I associated with all the negative things you possibly could. I was involved in everything that you wouldn't want me around your kid, like it's really that simple.
I
And
literally was the one where they're like, keep that kid out of here.
for sure. Yeah. I mean,
So she's
yep.
bad news. Yeah, I was bad news too.
Yeah, that was me. So until I tried something different, which I feel like I say music more so, it was more so serendipitous for me, like in serendipity, like it found me more so than I found it. I was just one thing. I went out to the club, and I was never club kid, like the things I was associated with. It was just like you just hang out in your house and you just be like this, or a friend's house, whatever. And I had this experience and I went. It was like house music. I went first time I've ever really been out like that. Even snowboarding, we used to just train and focus. And I'm very to myself, which I feel like I'm maybe as far as like social goes, because I am very military mentality with the way that I have done things, at least historically. It's like this needs to be done. They're non-negotiables. It's like very simple, bro. Like because I want to come up with a great excuse, but until I started like treating myself. And again, I think there's a fine balance with that. And a lot of people don't resonate with that. I can tell you right now, I never did. I can't even say I still do, but I know it works. I knew that the easier, softer way for me didn't work. And I understand the harder, like strict way is harder and more strict. I think that's what holds us back. I do believe that a lot of people though can have the easier, softer way. It's like, oh, these things messed up. Whew, not gonna do that again. Like, and that's freaking awesome. Like, shit, I wish that was my story.
Yeah,
But
most of us are just like, let me hit my head one more time.
yeah,
Maybe this time I'll get it right.
it's just like I wish that was the case.
Maybe it won't
Us,
take me down this time.
yeah, for sure. Yes, us as a human race would be probably so much better off. But again, there's no such thing as mistakes without like as long as you're able to learn from them, right? It's a mistake. Really, it's just a definition of insanity if you keep doing the same shit. Like it's that simple. But yeah, so I went to the club, and it sounds so like I went to the club and like things. It was crazy. I've never experienced it, and that's why I was like, this is my place. It wasn't. I mean, it actually kind of was like that. I can't say it wasn't. I experienced it. I was like, oh my, like, holy, like, what is this? I was like, oh my gosh, because everyone was on that I didn't know this at the time, but everyone's on that frequency. And this is like house music before. I have this conversation. People are like, that's because everyone was on drugs, Okay, great. Like at the end of the day, like it's irrelevant. That was my first experience in any of it. And I've never experienced other people also on the frequency that I always felt like I was at, that I was told I was so wrong for being on all the time,
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my gosh, and you bump into someone, and you bump into someone, be like, oh, you bump, and everyone was just like feeling good and get whatever. I don't care if they were on something or not. That wasn't the point. I never experienced that because that's how I felt. Normal. That's just how I felt, right? So even though I wasn't aware of all the things, like I don't want to say I was completely unaware. Like I knew what people were doing, but it was just I was like, oh my gosh, and then I was like, I don't know what it is in this industry, but I want to do it. Like I want to, whatever it is. And that's just where I knew. And again, this was never like this from snowboarding. I pretty much knew I was going to live and die from the way I was living. Like that was already, it was just a matter of time, and it was what it was. And I totally accepted that. Like pretty quickly after stopping snowboarding. Like I pretty much accepted that as hard as that was for my parents to hear, definitely my mom as well. That's just where I was at, it was like, what can get me there? Like, what can get me there? I feel like you want to be there fast, but at the same time, if you're using a temporary solution, you also want it to be like the easier, softer way, slowly, which isn't funny, but I laugh at all the past stuff that I've done because when am I going to let it hold me back and be like, I can't believe, I lived like this and I did, like, of course that's all true, but I'm not like rest on the things that I know that held me back for so long until I was able to move after I stopped having that train of thought, right? That thinking. So I experienced that at the club. And I was like, well, how do I do anything in this industry? And so I would swear, I would drive up to New York maybe like 3-4 times, sometimes a week, like unhealthily. I was so obsessed and just started going for like all the right, who can I connect to? How do I really like get in this field? And the people, long story short, the people that I would talk to be like, well, you can DJ, but if you DJ, you're going to hit a ceiling. Like you need to learn how to produce. And mind you, this is way before like house music was ever on the radio. I don't like make me sound like date me or whatever, but I was like, okay. They're like, well, you have to produce. And I was like, oh, damn, produce. Like, I mean, like okay, like I'll do that, I'll do that because I don't want a ceiling. I want to take this as big as I possibly can. I just knew, like, in the moment and being so obsessed, and then why I kept going. I just wanted other people to feel how I felt in that moment. And I was like, oh, if I could do this and I could resonate through like music or what, or like, this is how you do it. Like, I want people to, they have to know. I used to bring so many people to that club because I was like, you think life, you're like, you've never experienced life. I'm just gonna let you know. Like, I just bring so many people to that club. You just call Pasha. It's not there anymore, unfortunately. They do have one in Ibiza, but I was like, I just want people to feel this, like this, whatever it is. Mind you, I wasn't aware of frequency or energy or whatever, but that's what I was experiencing. I was like, holy moly, like this is life. Like, this is how we're supposed to live, you know? Like this, like, I enjoy all of this. Like, I'm just happy. Why am I happy? Why am I happy? Like, what's going on here? Right. And these are all new, flooded in new neural pathway. Like, all my things are, I've never experienced this before. So I tried to pick up, I feel like I tried Fruity Loops. I tried Ableton. Like, they're all different programs, like DAWs, digital audio workstations. They're all different programs. And I tried to pick up producing. Nothing clicked. Like, I feel like subconsciously, I felt like I could go into it like I did snowboarding, and I would just be able to do it. But that's not the case. I voice this a lot because, like I said, I was going to bring up the word talent. Now is when I bring it up. A lot of people say talent, or they look at certain things, or they hear certain. There's, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be honest with you. I would be so, like, I could just pull the easy car and be like, I appreciate it. Like, I appreciate, like, or it's like, oh, it's just like this. But that's not my experience. It was not at all. All I believe talent is hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of beating at your craft, whatever it is. I mean, you could go off the 10,000 hour rule, whatever you want to believe. Like, that's what I believe. It's just, I mean, I don't believe that. I know that. Like, I didn't cause that because it didn't happen for me that way. I wanted it to, I wanted to just pick up the computer and be able to do this. And even when it came to, like, later, after understanding production and learning all that, I wanted the same thing for writing and for singing. And I just thought it would all, like, but that wasn't the case. It's just like completely obsessive. Just, how can I get better at this? How do I do this? I couldn't sleep. And mind you, it was totally unhealthy. I switched one thing for another is what I did at first, right? Which I
I
feel like a lot
appreciate
of people
your authenticity.
say
I
that
think
again.
I appreciate your authenticity. It's important for people to hear that
Yeah.
because
I
we
mean,
do do that.
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, and for sure it's a positive thing, but that was the excuse as well.
yeah.
Right? Because it was, well, I'm doing something. I'm not hanging out with the same people, and I'm not, like, involved in the same things and wrapped up in this. I'm not locked up, whatever. I'm not doing the same things. That was the excuse. But that obsessive compulsive, like, the same, acting the same way in a different thing, even if it's positive, without balance and structure, is it's like,
Yeah.
but I didn't, it was, I was addicted. I was so obsessed. I was like, I don't care. Like, I need to know. I don't know. Like, it's crazy to me to even think about it now because I understand everything that I do as far as, like, what I do. But I can't say everything because I'm continuously, learning and growing still. But it's wild because I mean, like, super unhealthily obsessed. I didn't sleep, and God bless my parents because I was making house music at the time, so it's just the same kick over and over, and my mom's sleeping in the room over, and I would listen loud. That's how I first, started mixing and doing. I was crank it, just so
That's so
incorrect.
funny. My son produces music too, and right before we are getting on the call, I had to walk across the hall and be like, "Hey, bud, I have a conversation at one." Can you
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, that was for sure. That was for sure me. And yeah, I was obsessed. I was like, I need to learn, like, because then I found Logic, which I still produce in now,
Mhm.
and I don't want to say it clicked, but it made more sense than any other program that I had tried. And I think because I messed with like Final Cut. I used
Yeah.
to try when I
All
used to
these words are
snowboard.
very familiar. Final Cut, GarageBand,
Yeah,
Logic.
when
Yeah.
I yeah, Final Cut's video. Yeah, I
Yeah.
edit because I do all the edits, so I edit everything in Final Cut now. But uh yeah, it was funny, like, looking back full circle too, to, like, I used to bring this little thing, this little computer that I had. I don't even know if it was my computer, but I used to have GarageBand on it. And yeah, I just used to, like, be in the corner, like, when we were, like, go travel to compete. and I would just like sing and rap in it, in the corner. And I remember one time, like the team heard me, and that's probably what made me so insecure too. I've told them this before. I've talked to them like in the past, not super recently, but I was like, when you used to, like, they'd be like, "Oh, what, like you sing now, like you rap now." I'd be like, "No, I'm not even freaking doing nothing," like I don't even know, like as if that's a bad thing, like it's crazy. But that for sure was deep seated. Definitely held me back for a long time. My
Well,
insecurities.
and you talk about like the obsessiveness and you almost say it's like unhealthy. But I think going back to when you were talking about like ADHD, and we don't have to have labels or diagnoses, like just understand how your brain works. And if your brain, when if you don't have like a level of dopamine, but that dopamine kicks in when you're doing what you love,
Yeah,
it does look addictive, but it's like that's where you're getting your fuel. Whereas before you were trying to numb negative feelings, and now you're just like, I want more of the good stuff. That's a dopamine hit, right?
yeah.
Like,
But
yeah,
that's
and
not. But again, without like balance or like an actual regimen behind whatever you're doing, it's not sustainable.
exactly.
It's the same thing because
You just go
all
off the
drugs.
rails in the other direction.
Yeah, all the drugs, or like even you're addicted to other things or like involved in other things, because most people do have a void. Like
Yeah,
most people do have a thing, whether it's TV or food or whatever it may be, right? We just hold ourselves back for so long because it's something different than our shit, like,
right. Yep.
but like really, it's like, but regardless, it is unhealthy because uh, if you don't have that balance behind it, it will lead you down the same path. And what is your one thing to escape the void that you're feeling inside? You know, and it is, and plus you take away a lot of. It's hard, and definitely you could say with the brain or whatever. It's hard to step away. It definitely was, and I didn't. I didn't, but I'll tell you, it led me down the same path, even while having something positive, led me down the same path. People, places, and things, because I did this and I just hyper focused on this, and this is all I did, nonstop, 24/7. And then that's like, as much as I want to be the person to tell you, one, that you could do everything yourself, and two, that there is no ceiling and you don't ever have to stop or sleep. You don't have to do any of it. I would love if I could be the spokesperson for that. Like, I believed it for so long, for so long. I mean, so many times I would fall asleep. So many different, just like places I would go or be, and just, uh, I feel like I was in such a delusional state, but I was, I found purpose after losing it, and I thought it was never attainable after losing that. I just never, I always knew from the jump, a normal 9 to 5 and me working for someone was never a thing. Maybe I got that from my dad being in music, or who knows. I just knew, maybe because I just didn't like authority, maybe that was is as simple as that. Uh but I knew that. And then when I found not only something that I was so passionate about and was so in love with, that I also knew nothing about, and it was totally scary and unknown, but it also dealt with not having to have 9 to 5, and you could pretty much like live like this. Uh, it's not as that simple, I can tell you that. But yeah, I worked nonstop, and again, it led me down the same path, just going just crazy. It kept me away for a long time. It did keep me away for a long time. But again, the same cycle in a different field is the same cycle, So I was, wound up, just like I said earlier, people, places, things, and then would get back on track, and then I would just do the same thing. I see what I was doing different, but now I got this positive thing. If I did this, but like this, then it would work. I did the same shit,
Yeah.
and rode down the same path and did it again. I mean, that cycle continued for a while, when I first started music, and until I voiced it a little bit earlier, until I hit that point where we're so rock bottom, and then with the thing that I also loved that was still attainable, but I could potentially lose. That's when I was like, I want to do like, I'm willing to do anything. I just know that the way that I'm living is not working. I'm willing to do anything not to feel the way that I feel inside. Like, that's it. I'll take anyone's advice. And most importantly for me, I was like, I don't want to go home. Like, in the sense of, I don't want to go back to the people, places, and things. And I need something new. Like, something needs to change because it ain't working. This is not working for me. and apparently I don't know how to do it. So I need like to outsource, right? So that's essentially what I did. And I was fortunate enough. My sister lived in California, and she lived in this like little studio apartment in LA. And I was fortunate enough to have her allow me to stay. So I slept on her kitchen floor, and I actually just posted something about this this morning, this morning. And she sent me pictures like maybe like a week ago or something of it's like I used to sleep in this little corner of her kitchen floor, and then I had my little setup, and then I would set up every single day. And I knew when I started this new journey, right? If I was going to do this, it was so life or death for me. I was like, if I'm really, you're going to completely essentially start, like, because for me, it was like, yes, I was very fortunate to travel for snowboarding, but in the sense of like life, because I mean, it was life, but I was traveling. I was also a kid, it's like, I mean, let's snowboard forever. Not that that's impossible. I mean, many people have made it a career, which is phenomenal. But I was like, I want to start a new project, and I want to do what I'm most scared of, that I've always wanted to, and it was too insecure and had too many flaws and insecurities within myself. I want it to be based out of like pure, the full spectrum. I want it to start dark and end, which you talk about as full circle and the stuff I'm putting out now. Because even after knowing all this stuff, I never would have ever pictured myself talking about putting out, or even like in the hip hop field, any of this stuff was just crazy. You really talk about manifesting in a full circle. But I said when I sat there on my sister's kitchen floor, I was like, I'm going to start a project, and full spectrum, it's going to start dark, and it's going to be talking about a lot of the things that I've gone through in life, in hopes that it also resonates with someone. And then potentially I could also vent the way that I feel inside without actually carrying through those acts. Right. And then eventually it'll go into pop, or go into something like in the positive field, something that's not so negative, but I see the full picture. It's like, 'cause I see the full picture. And so that's where it started. And then the whole Abel Heart, able to do anything your heart desires. And yeah, I mean, it's great. It's why, I mean, I have these conversations a lot. I talk about this stuff all the time, for one. But still sometimes it's like I have to step back and be like, geez, like it is so wild. For one, that I'm just here, like that alone is just,
Literally.
yeah, literally. And yeah, it's just nuts. And I couldn't, you were saying this earlier, but to make sure, and I do my daily meditation practice, I was like, gratitude. I swear the keys to this are gratitude and selflessness. The keys to any of this, it's like gratitude and selflessness. And
Love that.
it's mind blowing. But again, we're human beings, and we create great excuses. And there's a ton of things that we want that we don't yet have, and it's kind of ridiculous that we don't have them. So we try and come up with excuses or reasons why we don't. And sometimes we put that on other people for the reason why we're at where we're at. And it's tough, like none of this is easy, I don't know. I've never met someone that said it was gonna be, you know. So like literally I wish, but
But it is empowering, and it does lead, I think, to emotional freedom, as opposed to suffering and living in the dark is like bondage.
yeah, I mean, yeah. What what's crazy to me, and I'm just thinking about it now, but a big thing that's changed, and especially recently for me, I mean, what's held me back a lot in life is always like others' opinions of me. Like that is such a heavy weight. I think it is for a lot of people. I know just from people that I've talked to, whether it is like people want to start a podcast, or people want to like get a law degree or something. Like there's like, what are people going to think? Or what if I don't do it, or what if it happens? And what if things change because of that? It's like, whatever excuse you want, because that was mine. It was like, I was never scared that it wasn't going to happen. I was always fearful of when it did. Are people going to change? Am I going to change because then the people around me change? And then like, are things going to be different? I mean, like one thing's for sure out of that statement, like things are definitely going to be different, but essentially that's what you're asking for. But if you're going to talk about it in a negative sense, you're also going to project that. And that's definitely what happened. The first like craziest thing, like life experience out of career that happened for me, all that happened, like It was amazing and phenomenal. I couldn't even believe it happened, even though you could say I manifested it and whatever, or worked for it, whatever. But all of those things happen, but that's because I also believe that they would, in the good and in the bad sense. So, yeah, it's just this thing that us as human beings, but yeah, recently, that's what I was going to say. Recently, I feel this is a crazy one for me because even talking about these things a lot, I feel for a long time, I'm saying a lot of the things that I believe, but I'm also holding myself back from a lot of beliefs, like not beliefs, but a lot of things that have helped me essentially because it's maybe too in your face. And I'm at that point, which is crazy. But like even having these conversations, I'm at the point where it's like, I can't play God. If someone else is hurt, I have to stem it in the fact that, okay, anything that I'm about to say or anything that I have put out, has it ever been out of malintent? Has it ever been out of malintent? Do I intend for any of this to affect someone like in a negative way, to hurt them, to be
Mhm.
catastrophic like, is any of that? And I sit with myself, and I've done this many times. And I'm like,
So have
no.
I.
Yeah.
When
And I'm
that
like,
fear kicks in, I
because
have to be.
because people have opinions, right? So it's like, well, if I put this out, even if it's for the positive things, someone's gonna say some crap.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Someone's gonna hate it. Someone's gonna tell me I did it wrong. Someone's
yeah,
gonna say I'm
funny. That's when
saying the
you
wrong thing. Yeah.
that's when you know you're doing you're doing something right, which is crazy that that has to be a cliche.
Right.
Like when you're doing something wrong, I mean, when you're doing something right, like you start getting hate for it or dislike.
Yes.
I like that word better than the H word. But it's like, uh, what? How is that?
Yeah,
Why
like
is that even?
that is a pillar of success, which is so disturbing,
It's so
right?
messed up. It's so messed up. It's unfortunate, but and that's something we as individuals on this journey of life or career or whatever we're going after, we have to know we have no control over that, right? Like there's no control. I wish that wasn't the case, and I wish that people like were super like hoorah for like other people doing stuff, and usually they are until that other stuff happens for them, and then they're like, oh my gosh, like or it's the other way. They're like, oh, I always knew it was going to happen, but they were never there in the back end, right?
Yeah.
But it's like it is what
Yeah.
it is. Either way, it's like all that I know is I want to feel like I want to feel myself and I want to feel the best in my skin as possible, no matter what that is. And a lot of that is held back by other, not just self-limiting beliefs, because that's totally true too, but of others' opinion on us. And that has held me back. And super recently, I sat with myself with that, and a lot of these conversations that I've been having recently, uh, and the stuff that I'm putting out, I'm just like, I can't. I've known this, I can't play God. Like I'm not God. I also know that uh like I do also believe in the I am that I am concept. I don't know if you know about that, Wayne. I do believe in that. Like I am God essentially. Like, you say that out loud and people are like, "What the fuck?" Like
Yeah.
you think you're whatever. I do believe in that. So essentially I am God in the life that I live. You are as well. Right?
Yeah.
If you believe in that concept, and I full-heartedly believe in that concept and it is true. But I'm saying I'm not I can't control. That's a better way to phrase it.
Yeah.
I can't control other people's opinions, what they're going to think. All I can control is what I want to put out into the world and hope it resonates with the right people. That's it. Like it's
Yeah.
very simple. Anything else that is a benefit like that comes from that is like hopefully it's all positive,
Mhm.
but anything that comes from that, and especially if it's negative, I don't have control over, because sometimes I'll find myself even like stupid little silly stuff I'll put out there, and if I see something, I'm very fortunate that I don't receive I'm sometimes with my personality, I'm like, yeah, like I'm surprised I don't see more BS, I'm very surprised, uh but yeah, sometimes I want to respond, Sometimes I have, and sometimes I just want to respond, but I want to respond because I want to explain, like certain things. And it could be something as simple as, why do you post the same freaking song, like 20 times? Well, listen, if you understand the way the algorithm works, well, it likes this one thing. Yes, I have 20 other million, like I have 20 different things over here. I just released 40 songs in 40 days, but they don't like this specific thing, like the algorithm or whatever they're trying to push doesn't like this, but it likes this, so you're going to hear it a lot because this is the only way that it gets. Like I can't. How would I live like that? I tried for a while, It's like, how do I explain this to them? Because then maybe it could also help them if they're trying to. It's like I can't control that. It's out of my control. Right? The serenity prayer is the best. I'm not religious by any means. I'm super spiritual.
Same.
My part of like whatever helps anybody in a positive way, and regardless of what religion, ethnicity, I don't give. It's like all everyone should like. What's the matter? Also with like love, like who freaking cares?
Yeah.
Like let anybody. What does it matter? It's just belief, It's whatever. It's just all. It's just like all BS. It's just like love really is as corny as that is, right? Love is like that's the juice, like all of it,
Right.
So who cares? Let people do what they.
Well, I
Especially when
always
it's
say the
positive.
world needs healing, and my contribution begins with me.
Ooh,
Just this is what I have control over, right? And I've heard you on another podcast, and I talk about it obviously a lot in the work that I do too. But we do know that hurt people.
yeah,
But people who are healing, I don't think people are healed, but people who are healing and people who are evolving help others heal and evolve.
yeah,
And, I, we can say it'll never get better, but I think every time, like that's what a warrior is, right? A warrior is somebody in this environment, in this community, a warrior is someone who fights for themselves first
yeah,
so that they can fight for everyone else. And when we are well, other people benefit from that. And so if we just keep doing our work and keep, being the light, I do think things are changing.
yeah. I mean,
People,
that's yes, that's so well put because it is true, and it's so hard for us, especially I know for so long. I'm an empath, and I feel like even socially, I'm an empath, and I feel but uh, another cliche, the gas mask cliche, you have to put it on yourself before anyone.
oh yeah,
It's just like, is it a gas mask, air mask, whatever?
the
Oxygen
oxygen
mask.
mask on an
You gotta
airplane,
put
I
the gas
think.
mask on. Come on. Uh, yeah, that's another one. Just kind of going off what you're saying, and it's true. It's hard for us to be like, no, that's messed up. What if there's a kid? What if there's this? Well, the kid wouldn't be able to survive. So what happens if then it crashes and no one's there to it, and you're gone? You
Yeah.
didn't put so you can't care for it, or then it's going to grow up. And what life is it going to fall? Like what's going to happen? Right? It's all these things, but it's just like we do. We have to get that point of ourself and to see our own flaws and a lot of things but that's a tough place, right? I know it was for me, I don't have those issues, it's not me,
Me either.
but it was, but it
Right.
was. And I think the openness and vulnerability too, and being able to speak that out loud,
Yeah.
especially of things that we've gone through in the past, I think even that is alone, like not even like you're trying to teach something or like put something out there specific. It's like these are things that I went through, and this is what I'm currently going through. You have no idea how much that actually someone could just scroll by that. Right, we live in the day in social media. I mean, that's what I do. You could post something like that, just being vulnerable, letting go of the fact that you can't have control over anybody what someone's going to say, and you have no idea that could save someone's life. It would
Right.
literally be one person.
Right.
That's it. Like that's what it's about. Does it sound
I mean,
corny? Like that's true.
I've had books, I've had songs, I've had podcasts, I've had speakers, like one sentence, one word, and I'll be like, oh, that changed my life for the better. Just like that, if I believe that. And so again,
If you
we have
believe
this,
that, yeah,
we have this community where we can share and we can say, especially for artists, I think a lot of us have been conditioned to sacrifice ourselves for other people, whether it's moms for their kids or marriages or whatever. But artists in particular, right, are, so driven, so excited, so gifted, often so brilliant that they do forget themselves. And I think when you chase a dream, and I think it's Rick Rubin just said this recently, probably said it his whole life, but you chase a dream for 20 years and you give it everything you have. And then that thing happens. You win that award, you get on stage, whatever the thing is that you were chasing, and you realize like, I still feel the same.
yeah,
I now
wasn't
have
about
this
that. Yeah,
thing. And if you are wrestling with trauma or addiction or faulty belief systems or, worrying about what other people think, it's not the answer. Right. And so the answer is right in here.
yeah,
And it has to start here. So we want people, again, this probably sounds a little preachy, but I want people to fight for themselves first so that they can bring their gifts into the world, so that they can bring their own healthiest selves to the world. Because, I always say when artists are well, we all win.
for sure. Yeah, I mean, I say preach it all day. That's what I was like stepping into the power of of that, like of that. I think that's huge. What you're preaching is nothing negative. You're trying to, what you're saying is just in hopes that it's going to resonate with, so just like me, it's going to resonate with someone and potentially help their life. It's like, so I would say preach that all day. It's funny. I just put that in a song lyric,
Did
you
you?
know?
Oh,
Yeah,
well, I'm
just
not
recently,
surprised.
because I've been on this wave. I'm putting a whole EP together of all different like frequencies, and yeah, and it's like one of the lyrics. I forget what I said. Like, uh, I don't even know. I gotta freaking learn all my lyrics. I make stuff so fast. We'll do like virtual concerts sometimes.
Well, I saw your process, the one that you posted
Lyrics,
about the 888 hertz and the manifestation,
abundance.
and I sent it to my son, and I was like, this guy just made beats or what, I don't know the right language, so don't
No, yeah, yeah.
fault me for that. But I'm like, for manifestation, like that's
Well, because
genius.
that's what I listen. I have to take things because I do believe and I feel that when we force things that aren't either in alignment of us, or we're putting things and projecting things out there into the world uh, that aren't in alignment of any of that. For one, people are so smart now. Like, people know.
Sure.
Like, I could be sitting here, if I was BSing you, you're like
I'd
you or
feel it.
anybody else, you could put it on the internet. It's pretty like apparent. Like, only if you've experienced or can have similarities or understand, will you be able to relate and be like, okay, it's genuine. Or I could be just like spitting, but like I like to think, like, because I eventually would love to get into acting. I would like to think that I could. But when it comes to that stuff, I just think people are too smart now, and they
Yeah.
pick up on it. I feel like I do when I watch certain things.
Yeah.
It's also not on me to like depict what anyone else does, or they're on their journey. It's like I'm not a content savage. I mean, a comment savage. I don't really do that unless it's positive. I'll see like artists that aren't, like, they're maybe just starting, or maybe they don't have anything, but uh yeah, it gets me so hyped. Like, I just want to say something nice,
Yeah.
because I know they're struggling, or they're like doing something. They have like 50 likes. I see this all the time. And they'll have like 4 comments, and one of those comments is so negative. And
Mm.
I'm just like, what are you like, And you just want to be like, because he's like freaking trying to do his thing. And you just want to say something. The only thing you can do is just put out positive energy.
But again,
And
that's
just,
why we focus on wellness, right?
mhm,
Because when you are working on your own mental wellness, when you're working on your own spirituality and your own, physicality, when you're taking care of yourself, you
yeah,
want to pour into other people. You want, especially when you've been in the darkness like you've been in, and you now get to live in the light. And those may sound like, strange terms or whatever, but whatever you want to call it, when you've struggled or suffered, and now you're thriving and you're resilient. Doesn't mean life is easy, but you're
mm.
resilient and you're
That's what
thriving.
this says. Resilient. That's
Is
funny. I
it?
didn't choose that. Yeah, I didn't like the tattoo. He's like,
I didn't know
anyways,
that.
yeah,
But yeah, but that's that you want to give it away, right? And that's why the work of warriors. That's why the Abel Heart project. Like, when you come out of the dirt, you rise like a phoenix. You're like, I want to help all the people.
yo,
It's
you're speaking.
possible.
I don't
It's
mean to say
possible.
yo, but you're speaking truth. Like, the thing I was just about to post, I'm gonna post right when we get off this call. I'm literally, the end of it is that I was like, this, like, that's what it's about. I
Yep.
can control like none of this, like, because I was talking about manifestation frequency, like being in alignment. You'll get people that's like, oh, this doesn't make sense, or what is the frequency, or it's not about money, or it's not, like, I can't control, like, I can't control that. Like, you can make this up and make it, like, I'm not making it up. If someone in the comments could please whatever I said. And and but when you realize, like, when you find this thing, they just want other people to like feel this, and it's like to know this, like, just like you said, and that is what it's about. That's genuinely what it's about, and that's all you can hope for. Because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, whatever. But
What is that lyric in your song? Is it worth it? Where you say something about the the universe won't throw me what I can't swing.
Uh, oh, I wish I could give you the lyric. Universe,
I think it's the
yeah, but I
universe won't throw me
can't.
what I can't swing. But
I know
my
what you're
point
saying.
is,
I think it's in the
like,
second
what's
verse.
meant for me will get to me, right? What's not meant for me won't get to me. It'll
Yeah,
miss me. but it's also what we put out. We can't, everything we put out, whether it's a post, whether it's a comment, whether it's, a compliment in the grocery store, like how we present ourselves isn't going to land with everyone. And that's
Yeah.
okay because we can trust that it will land where it's supposed to. And
Yeah.
then we can just
You have to
release it.
trust. That's the part. Yeah. It's the universe will throw me what I can't swing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
It's
it.
like, you're trying to make this one. Yeah. I mean, but that's the part, is the trust, because, and which is like, I feel good right now, like really, really good, because, uh, even when things are going great, I create these blocks, like, I think us as human beings, and again, there's just levels to this, right? But, um,
Literally
yeah,
before we got on
just,
the call, I was like, oh, it's Abel Heart. I've been following him forever. And I started feeling a little anxious. And then I was like, wait, what's true? What's true? This is for me. What's true? This is one of the kindest, most positive, energy giving, like free spirited people that you have seen on the internet. And so you are so freaking lucky. And I was like, I'm so grateful that I get to get on this call. And it
oh,
shifts
I appreciate
everything. But those blocks are defaults, right? It's our nervous system trying to protect us. And I think sometimes excitement gets confused with anxiety. And so we have to stop and go, wait a
it.
minute, I don't think I'm anxious. I'm just really excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. I mean, yeah, it's totally true. And hey, it's a journey. At the end of the day, we're all, I talk about this with my manager all the time. At the end of the day, we're just all here trying to figure it out. Like,
Yeah.
that's it. But once we understand that, like, the figuring in and out of it, like the journey of it is what I'm saying. That's where it is. Like, it's really that simple. And then when we can have the belief, because that's what's so crazy. There's been so many things over the past, I feel like over this last couple weeks, even, it's just been really super game changing for me in the mental space. Not that I've always felt this. I think I'm more aware of it than ever. But, and I've always believed everything's going to happen for a reason, whatever. But I think now in my life, so many big things are happening that, like, but then there's, within each of these things happening, there's like, it could be a catastrophic thing over here. If this doesn't pan out, it doesn't work out. Okay, like, if it doesn't work out, then, like, to, like, to my old self, or like to someone else that could be like, oh my gosh, no, you have to make sure that it's not on me. Like, I did what I could do, and I hope that it works out the best way it does. Like, that's whatever way that is, because I know if it's not in alignment and I force it, I know where that's always led me, even if it's not like some crazy life experience, like in a bad way, it's never led me in the right direction. Like, it's as simple as that. And I also know that forcing it and trying to build anxiety and building, right, because I am the one that's causing that anxiety around whatever it is and something that I don't have control over. I don't want to live like that. Like, it's really that simple. It's like, well, I don't know how you could do that. And it's like a big call, you should really, like, figure that out. It's not for me to figure out. I figured out my portion and my part, and I have to let go of the rest of whatever it is. It's not in control. And it's so funny because once you do that, it's like everything comes in, like everything, and it's wild, but you really, like, deep seatedly, like, really have to believe that. And that's, I think, just a process in itself. And I just wish the best for anyone on this journey of life, because it's a roller coaster,
Yeah.
So what I say, it's a roller coaster, because that was the first thing I was told by my mentor. So, like, oh, this industry is a roller coaster, hold on. But I say, it's a roller coaster for sure, buckle up, but, like, ride without your shoes, because, like, the breeze is where it's at, Yeah.
So you have really, I mean, you have wrestled with the darkness. You've had loss in your, early adolescent sports career. You are now thriving. You're making music. You have a master class for people who want to live in their highest vibration. You're doing amazing things. You know, back to the work of a warrior. Are there non-negotiables that you have on a regular basis that you do to keep yourself present, to keep yourself attuned in your
Yeah.
higher frequency in a good place? Do you have
Yeah. I mean,
non-negotiables?
yeah. I think I brought it up earlier. I didn't say what they were, but I brought it up
Right.
earlier, right? So you're not BSing you. Yeah. I mean, stretching, meditation early in the morning, non-negotiable. Definitely a sleep routine, which can be difficult, especially being a creative. I still, even though I have routines and non-negotiables now, I still don't know what day it is. It's kind of whatever comes with the territory. I don't know. Maybe being an entrepreneur, I have no freaking clue. Um, but yes, sleep, meditation. I have to have something outside, like nature. Uh, just outside, just something. And the gym. I have to have the gym. It's not just for like a career thing. Like, oh, I have to stay in shape. Like what it does, and I always harp on the gym so much. I also like to give a lot of metaphors and things that I'm trying to talk about with life based off of the gym because there's just so many similarities and so many things that are so easily relatable to so many just off of the gym. But gym can be a touchy subject for some, and I totally understand. But that's one for me for sure. Is the gym. I need to get there, and the benefits of what it does for your endorphins it releases, what it actually like what it does for your brain and body. I'm not saying they go because you have to be the biggest baddest thing. I definitely don't like specifically go for that reason. Again, but like a lot of people would disvalidate that because then they see the shape I'm in and say that it's like, but I can't control that.
We don't worry about what other people say. That we don't do that
Like
anymore.
yeah,
I
I
always say
think,
the gym is my medicine. When I don't want to go, I'm like, take your medicine.
ooh,
Go.
I like that. Yeah, non-negotiable. It's
I'm
like
a different person. When you were talking about when you went into that club the first time and you were like, this is how we're supposed to be living. That's how I feel when I'm in the lake or at the gym.
ooh, I
If
like
I'm
that.
in the
You
lake,
have that. That's huge. That you know
yeah,
that.
that's fine.
Yeah, that's that you had found that, and that's freaking amazing. But that's what it is for me. Those three things, and then balance. Reading too is not my heaviest non-negotiable. I do read every day, but it's not my biggest non-negotiable.
I
Uh,
love that you're reading after being told at a young
yeah, just
age that you couldn't.
oh, that's what I do. I'm almost finished this Deepak Chopra book.
Love
Um,
it.
Yeah, I mean, I got a ton of books over there, but yeah, I do. Because and it's really because I base it off of what I just explained earlier, because I was
Yeah.
told I was dyslexic or whatever it is. Also, not just that, I do think it benefits with so many other things for the brain. I just do. I like even things that I'm maybe not even aware of, but I know that it's just beneficial to me as a human being
Yep.
and growth. And if I look at anything, any people in life that have achieved anything that I personally want to come close to or like attain to, like want to be like, or like desire to
Mhm.
be, it's always reading, it's always like I read books, I could audible, or what is it called? Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could do that. Like, of course I could, like, but that I know for me, that's an excuse. Like, that's just an easier, softer way. And that's like, anytime I've done that, it's never been beneficial. It hasn't been the most beneficial. Yes, that's probably better than eating chips and watching TV, like Audible, for sure. I'm not denying that, but if I'm not like, not I want to say 100% in on something, but if I'm not fully utilizing like an asset, what's the what's the point of it then for me? Then I'm not fully like getting all the juice from whatever the thing is that potentially could benefit me.
Yeah.
But that's how I feel around that. So that the gym, stress meditation, meditation for sure, like game changing. It has to be non-negotiables. I'm also very military mentality with myself, which I stray even line because I'm not like you gotta do this, like I'm
Sure.
crazy,
Sure.
crazy. I was for a long time, but yeah, it's like this is like I just tell myself like it's like I want to come up with excuses. It's what we do now. Like
I
it's
say the
that
same thing.
really.
It's just what we do now.
It's what we
It's just what we do now. I love
That's
it.
just what it is. I love that. I love that. That's like that gets me. It gets me hyped to just think about that. To say that, yeah, it's so. Um, but yeah, all of it's just that's where it's at. All of it's the journey, the conversation we're having, and potentially hopes to help someone else or it resonates with someone. Again, I say it with music, like even if it's for the 2 to 3 minutes or the 6-second piece of content I put out there,
Yeah.
if it makes them laugh, or feel something, better and takes them away. Because I know that it has done that for me in the past, whether it's with music or content, like comedy as well.
Well,
So comedy is a
full
big one.
disclosure, like, I don't know, my warm up playlist at the gym is probably half you.
Oh, really?
Because I always tell people, like, I don't want to go to the gym. I don't
Yeah.
wake up and be like, yay, I get to get up. It's early. It's cold. I'm going to go to the gym. I just have to, all I have to do is get myself there. And then once I'm 2 minutes in and the music starts, I'm a different person. And
Yeah. Oh,
so many of my songs on my warm up playlist are Abel Heart. So
That's amazing. Well, I think I appreciate that, and that makes me super hyped because that's definitely a big portion of what I hope that other like people could benefit from it, while listening and doing things. But I think you'll like a lot of the new frequency stuff coming out. There's one I specifically I tuned for like motivation,
Oh, cool.
because not all the like that was my assumption too. Just like when I just being in this field, or just like being so into all of this, that like
Mhm.
all the low frequencies are bad frequencies, but not like there's specific frequencies for everything, which is crazy, and some are motivational, which makes sense to then actually being like the
Yeah,
lower tier of it, but it's not a negative thing. So
yeah,
there's all of these frequencies. So, but there is one specifically I made for like motivation and for the gym. But I called it like on the move, just like so. I'm super hyped
that's
on
awesome.
those. So
Well, I look forward to that.
definitely.
Definitely. Okay, so I like to end with 3 questions. So the first one is, what's a piece of advice you would offer to a new artist just starting out?
I don't want to say I don't want to give the easy one and be like, oh, it's not going to be it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy.
Is that it?
Uh,
Just know it's not gonna be easy.
I would say have patience with yourself. I think that's a good one because if I look back, I was the furthest thing from patient. But I do, because that's also very hard. I go off of Jordan Peterson's quote where he says, uh, become a monster and then learn how to tame it. The thing that's very scary is kind of like the serenity prayer in a sense, where like the end of the serenity prayer, God, please grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That's where the juice is, right? The wisdom to know the difference between the things I can change and I can't change because we're trying to change the things that we know we can't, but right? Vice versa. Uh, I would say that with uh, with music, music as well, or whatever it is that you're trying to go after. Like have patience with yourself, but also like be a monster. You know, like believe that it's going to happen. Like you have to believe it more than anybody else, and essentially I mean, in the entrepreneurial sense in general, you're selling yourself in everything that you do, right? So like, if you don't believe it, or because I used to be, which I still struggle with, but like, if you actually looked it up in the dictionary,
Mm,
um, but I definitely struggled with that. I feel like actually definition sense, but I thought I was actually being like humble with society, like societally, like what you think humble is, just like, oh, thank you so much, and
yeah.
but I did that too much and it held me back. So I would just say patience, just to
Mm, I love
yeah.
that. This podcast is dedicated to people that we have lost in the industry to addiction, suicide, and those who are still suffering in silence. And while this isn't a replacement and it's not therapy, it's
Mhm.
not mental health treatment, but to share our stories, what might you say to someone who might listen to this and they are suffering in silence?
Just in life in general. For one, yeah, I mean, for one, like you are not alone in any of this. Um, and it's definitely a process. It's a process, and to have the understanding. I think patience also goes along with what I said with it in general. Everything relates back to all of this in life. I mean, we could be talking about career or life or going through something. Uh, for one, you are not alone. Please, like, don't cast yourself into the bucket of your like the story, and because this is such right, it's a touchy subject too, because someone is currently, if we're just talking about someone that is currently going through something, right, just as we're having this conversation, someone's listening right now and they're currently going through it. How in this right mind could I tell them to not let themselves get in the way of a life beyond their wildest dream? Well, I'm going through this currently, this is a reality that I'm going through. Not taking that away from you at all, like it for
Yeah.
sure is, but what we don't want is to have that be the reason that holds you back from everything you're truly meant for. And because of that experience that you're having, just had, or are currently having, take away the fact that you have no idea because of what you went through, what that potentially will help someone in the future, right? Or just you have no idea what that'll even lead to in your life. But what we know is we don't want that to hold back from everything that you're meant for. We just don't see it right now, and that's totally okay. I didn't, which I'm sure you probably have a similar. Sounds like you have a so. Um, that's definitely what I would say.
I love that so much. Thank you. I think at some point I could probably take a clip from every episode of this podcast where people, like, one of the first things everybody says when I ask that question is, "You're not alone." And
Mm.
so there, I could clip all those together. You're not alone. There are those of us who have been in the dark, and it's not the end of the story. And if you don't allow it to be the end of the story, there is beauty and so much goodness coming that you just, like you
Yeah.
said, beyond your wildest dreams. So thank you for saying that. Okay, so on a lighter note,
Mhm.
how can people find you, your music, if they want to work with you, your masterclass? You have a lot going on. What's the easiest way for people to connect with you?
Yeah, 100%. Everything is obviously on social media. The easiest thing is to Google, you just Google Abel, Ableheart, like you're able to do anything your heart desires. Abel Heart, yeah, Instagram, Abel Heart. Some other things are Abel Heart Music. Anything with that, that's how you'll be able to find me. Masterclass, I believe it's ableheart.co, as well as some other things on the site and some new things that we're building on the site as far as like building out other things that we're doing courses for. So yeah, I mean that's where everything is. Just Google's usually the easiest. Google's usually the easiest for most things. You know, you want to Google how do I get rid of a splinter? You know, it's like
There's Dr. Google,
Dr. Google. Yeah.
construction Google, cooking Google. Yes. All right. Well,
For
I
sure.
hope people find you because what you're doing is incredible. I love the story of, redemption, if you will. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful to watch your transformation. So glad you came across my TikTok feed, and I'm so grateful that you said yes today. You were truly a warrior, and I'm just grateful that you're here, and I just look forward to staying connected. So
Well,
thank
I
you.
appreciate it. You too as well. And thank you again for having me. Seriously amazing, amazing conversation.
Thank you.